You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 132 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Moore. Today I'm joined by co-host Dakota Davis, I guess co-host Sean Rao,
whatever you want to call me,
producer Chris Guffey, and we have a special guest, Dakota.
Yes, that's right. Today's episode features Joe Bergacs. Today is the big, giant criminal justice episode.
Oh yeah, feel that bass.
That's right. We're going to be talking about everything with criminal justice in Henry County, Indiana. We're going to be talking. On one side of the table we have the Henry County prosecutor Joe Bergacs. I am so proud to pronounce his name correctly the first time. And we have Liberty Defender Sean Rao on the other side of the table.
Keep your shirts on, gentlemen. We don't have. This is not wrestling.
I expect a clean, fair fight. No kidney shots. No,
this is costing us $700 an hour. You better stop with the cheap jokes.
Yeah, that's right.
One of these guys works in the private sector, and he's expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
If only my rate was $700 an hour.
We're going to be talking to these guys about how the criminal justice system works on the county level, and then we are going to see if there's anything that can be done on the side of the courts to try to alleviate the crisis of the Henry County Jail. So make sure you stick around to the end to hear all of those dirty details.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we're going to warn you. We're going to provoke you a little bit. Other times we'll make you laugh. Hopefully you'll always learn something new. I think that'll happen today. My goal is to provoke Dakota today. That's really the sole goal in all of this is just to provoke Dakota, and then just anything after that's just gravy on the biscuit.
You provoke me just by sight.
Just missed you so much, buddy. Just stop touching me.
Yeah. Bad touch.
Yeah.
Joe, I have something to talk to you about.
Let's just see how many crimes we can accumulate today, and just see what it's going to take.
I told you.
So
guys
we have some people to thank. Over on patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty is where you can go to support our show. We deliver this media to you for free. However, if you pay us monthly, then you are put into a super secret Facebook group, and you also get a private RSS feed for your podcast catcher. And that is where you can hear the bonus recordings that we do every week with our guests in studio for about 20 minutes beforehand. We also give you access to all the show notes with links to the sources that we use to write the show notes. And if you're above $50 a month, then we promise to give you a shout out on the show so the world knows how great of a person you are. The first up is our other favorite lawyer, who is from all the way in Hawaii.
Former prosecutor himself.
Yeah, that's right. Mr. Craig DaCosta. We also have Christy Avery from all the way in Fort Wayne. And then, of course, our favorite car dealer, Jonathan Phillips.
Over at Andy Moore GMC.
That's true. We also have some T-Chip stores if you want to get some Boss Hog of Liberty clothing items. You can find those tchip.com/BHOL1, 2, or 3.
And I bought 2 shirts today.
Did you?
I bought my fall BHOL 3 from the BHOL 3 collection. I really wanted the BHOL 2, but I'm offended at the font.
Well,
it's not the font I told you to get, and it doesn't look anything like the thing we were trying to do. And this is my public place to gripe and complain.
It's literally the exact same font.
It can't be.
From the Adam Sandler shirt you sent me.
I think it was caps on the Adam Sandler one, and it was you had lowercase.
Is that it?
It did not look good.
I put it in my font. I put it in the font finder. So
yeah, I think we have to try it again.
What they give me.
If we go caps, I'll buy it.
Okay.
I will go back to the well and I'll buy it.
But you got from BHOL 3, which is the stuff that we promise is ultra premium beaver fur from right here in Henry County, softened and pre-shrunk.
Mine's going to be long sleeve and in the black. So I waited until the weather was supposed to turn so I could wear the long sleeve in the crisp fall air.
Smart thinking. That's why you make the big bucks.
I didn't need to be wearing the long sleeve black shirt in June. I'll tell you that.
All right. So now we have a portion of the show where we're going to introduce our guests. Sean,
Yes.
you need no introduction.
Sean, you're co-hosting, so if you could introduce yourself, that would make it easier for everybody else.
I said that we should make you officially a co-host in the show notes because
I'm game.
Danny Morrell is listed as a co-host.
Oh.
But you've been on like six more times than he has.
After this is over, I have a Danny story for you,
Okay,
Sean.
excellent.
He's got an exciting day tomorrow.
I love Danny's stories.
Yes.
And then,
Love running into
of
him.
course, to my left or the camera's right, we have Joe Burgess, and I'm going to keep saying your name until I mess it up, okay?
You already did.
Yeah, you just
Burgess. Gosh,
All
darn
right.
it.
Doesn't make a difference.
Oh, well.
My mom found out she was a Morrell after about 6 months of knowing my dad. She thought she was a Morrell because then my dad introduced himself as that, and then she met the rest of the family, and she just realized that the Marines had beaten him into saying the wrong name. So
It doesn't make a difference. It's been
Eventually you
pronounced on the first day school was never pronounced right. I just learned to raise my hand and say here.
Yeah, well.
Joe B.
Sounds good.
Or known as the prosecutor.
the prosecutor.
Can't change it.
Are you with us, Dakota?
I'm with us. I'm with us.
You're
I'm,
producing.
Yeah,
You're over
I'm-
here giving commands.
I'm texting Chris Guffey.
I already just did it.
Okay.
It's all Joe's fault
It's
again.
a mess.
That's what this is about.
Yeah.
We won't keep it quiet.
Joe,
Dakota thinks Joe's too quiet.
Joe, you were sworn in as the Henry County prosecutor on July 3rd, 2012. That's one day away from the big one.
July 4th.
Yeah. So where were you at before you were sworn in as prosecutor? Just some background knowledge.
He was assistant to the regional prosecutor.
Yeah, so I joined the prosecutor's office in June of 2003, and then I was a deputy in the office until July 3rd, 2012.
What does a deputy prosecutor do?
At first I was assigned in misdemeanor court, so I did misdemeanors.
Most of the marijuana prosecutions.
The OVWIs, batteries, resisting law enforcements, all the misdemeanors.
Sovereign citizens.
No, we didn't have many of them because they don't like to show up to court.
Okay.
And then after that, I moved up to major felonies after a couple of years, and then I just did major felonies until I was appointed or elected prosecutor.
So the prosecutor you served under was Judge Kit Crane.
Yes.
And he filled a vacancy on the circuit court?
Yeah, so he took over for Judge Payton, and he became judge of Henry Circuit Court number 2. He was appointed by the governor.
So he got appointed by the governor, and then you went before the tribe of elephants, and they
Otherwise known as the precinct committeeman.
yes, and they selected you to become the prosecutor.
Yes, they did.
All right. Which, if you're watching Central Indiana news now, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, a very similar process is happening in Marion County. Where their prosecutor has health issues and he resigned, and now there's an opening and there's an acting prosecutor, and then they're gonna the tribe of donkeys
weekend,
will be
right?
will gather and select.
You graduated from Purdue University with a degree in political science and history.
Yes,
Boiler up.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, are you the one that's backing Mason Rottinghouse at Purdue University
In the back of boiler program?
I
Sure.
support
Doesn't know
anything for that. Yeah.
I would think not.
Our intern this summer was Mason. He's a Tri-High grad, and he's a pharmacy student at Purdue. And we've been detailing the college funding over this, getting to know Mason and having him on here. And Purdue is the first college in the country that has its own alumni bank, essentially.
Really?
So you
know
sign
that.
up and you sponsor, or you basically provide the funding instead of student loans. Alumni provide the back boiler program, and then you repay another boiler, essentially.
I'm just paying the U.S. Department of Education. So it'll be like that until I get enough money for loans for my daughter, probably.
Yeah, you just cycle through. We're having fun doing the same thing with my bride's IU degree. So that's
Unless we can get Bernie in there to fix it, right?
Bernie, Commissar Bernie. Go.
Bernie's had a hell of a week, man. I don't know.
The last time that we talked to Sean, it was about student loans, and it just naturally cycles back to this conversation, I guess.
It's heavy on everybody's mind, man. It's always there.
Ever present. Not on mine, because I don't have any.
So, Joe, did Purdue bring you to Indiana?
It did, yes.
Was it on purpose that you stayed, or was it like, oh, shoot, I guess
That's
I'll
where
go?
I met my wife, and so we stayed, yeah. I like it here, though. It's great.
Was she from here?
Yeah, she's from Henry County.
Okay.
And so where are you from originally?
I grew up in New Jersey.
You don't sound anything like Ed Tarantino.
No, I do not. I lost my accent a long time ago.
Can you get it back if you need it?
Yes, when I get mad or I start yelling, it comes back.
Can we talk
Does it
about
ever happen
Can we
in
talk
the-
about?
Or if
could
I
vouch for
call my
that.
sisters.
Can we? Yeah, I was gonna say when I go back to New York State, by the end of the weekend, I picked up Wicked and a couple other words again.
Yeah, there are certain words that just come back, I think.
Does it ever happen in the courtroom? Like
Like Sean really did something
here's
to
the
piss
problem.
you off.
I don't really know when it comes back. So a couple of weeks ago I got mad and I started yelling and when I came back to the office, my chief deputy was there and I said, "Hey, did my accent come back?" He goes, "Oh yeah." So the problem is I just don't know when it comes back, so I can't
hilarious.
You're just in Kroger and they don't have the kumquats you want, and
wouldn't get mad.
And now I'm going to be craving kumquats, like until I can get some.
well, good luck finding them in Kroger.
Yeah, you're not going to find him.
You got to go to the Aldi.
Darn it.
So if we talk about the Mets and the firing, the unjust firing of a 2-year manager, is that going to upset you? Or are you
It doesn't make sense to me. So the general manager who assembled this bad bullpen, who blew most of the games for them, is now, it's the manager's fault for the bad bullpen that the general manager put together.
I
Doesn't
watched-
seem to make sense to me.
Right after Jeremiah mentioned that, I watched Joe take a glance down at the show notes like, is this really in here?
That's all right. I'll always talk about the Mets.
All right. Well, how about we talk about how the court system works in Henry County? There's a quote at the top of this section of the show notes that says, "If I'm arrested, then what's the standard process in Henry County?" So I'm guessing that if you get arrested in Henry County, you resist as much as possible, put up a fight, don't go down unless you're kicking and screaming, right? Is that how you're supposed to do it?
If you want to get a felony, yes.
We were just talking about sovereign citizens, so I figured that had to tie in somewhere. No, but really though, what if I get arrested?
Say you're a random Guffey walking down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I was going to say, I walk out of here
Probable
tonight.
cause.
Sure is.
I walk out of here tonight and someone starts mouthing off and I punch him in the nose. And all of a sudden I get a battery charge. What happens next? I've never been arrested before. I need this explained to me.
So a police officer would presumably investigate and gather evidence and things of that nature. And if he wants to make the arrest there on the scene, he can do that and compile a report, send it to Mr. Bergacs' office, and they pick it up from there.
So you'd be taken to jail,
Yes.
be processed.
You have a preliminary charge against you that the
so
police officer would have given you, right?
The police do the preliminary charges, and then once you're arrested, you go to jail. You have an opportunity to bond out. If you don't bond out, you'd have a probable cause determination within 48 hours. Police would forward the report to the prosecutor's office, and if you're still in jail, we'll
Do you
get
guys
those
work all
paperwork
5 days
prepared.
of the week, or are you like a 4-day
No,
program
no,
like the
I
other
understand.
county?
No,
offices?
we're 8 to 4.
So
Monday
if you
through
get
Friday.
arrested on a Friday, it's just Monday. It's not all the way till Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Monday morning.
All right.
And so, so you would be, you'd have your initial hearing come Monday, but first we would get the paperwork prepared, file it with the court, and then a judge will make a determination of probable cause, and then you'd come for your initial hearing. At that, you can either plead guilty, you'd be sentenced. If you pled not guilty, court would set it for pretrial, jury trial, or bench trial date, and then the case will proceed from there.
So I'm arrested and I'm taken to jail and I get charges of battery pressed against me because I punched this guy in the nose and he wants to press charges against me.
He doesn't
And-
get to decide, right?
Is that how it works?
No, the police make the determination.
Okay, the police make the determination. And I call Sean and I say, "Sean, I'm not guilty.
Yeah.
This was self-defense."
Yes.
He was running his mouth.
Yes.
And, Words cut like a knife.
Not hearing self-defense yet, but okay.
There used to be this doctrine of fighting words where if someone said something
right.
to you, it would flame you, but that's not really
Them's
something.
fighting words, son.
Yeah, that's not something that'll fly now. But
I think I'd like to go with a dual defense.
yeah, dual. They did
Mutual
away with those
combat.
too. They did away with those too.
Trial by combat.
Yeah.
Is that what? Do we have that in Henry County?
Trial by combat.
I'd like to pick my champion. His name is Chris Guffey.
Yeah.
You might want to pick Cade Coger on that one, buddy.
Yeah, I think Cade.
I mean, I've been shooting a lot lately, but you might want Cade on that one.
Yeah.
So I plead not guilty. Do I automatically get a jury trial if I plead not guilty to
If
it?
it's a misdemeanor, you have to request one within, was it 10 days before the first trial setting?
Yes, prior to the
If it's a
first trial
felony,
setting.
yeah, you automatically get a jury trial. And if it's a level 6, you get a 6-person jury. If it's 5 or above, you get a 12-person
How many
jury.
people are on a jury for a misdemeanor?
6.
6.
Do you roll your eyes if they ask for a jury trial for a misdemeanor?
No, it's their right. If they ask for it, that's what they get.
What if I miss that 10-day timeline?
You're probably not going to
You
get a
waive
jury
it.
trial.
Yeah,
you waive
it's
it.
gone. That's why it is important to have a lawyer representing you on misdemeanors.
From the very beginning.
Yes.
How long do I have till I can claim a speedy trial?
You can claim it at any time as long as you're incarcerated. If you're incarcerated at any point, and then you have to be tried within 70 days.
Now, is it true that I would get my one phone call in the jail?
Yeah, I don't
Is that
know.
a real thing, or is that from the movies?
I think it's from the movies.
Now you just get one Facebook Messenger post.
That's got to be horrible for the jailers, because I know that everybody that's in there that's not been in jail before is going, I get my one phone call.
I've heard it before.
Jeez, oh Pete, I would be Sean. You would be my first phone
You get
call.
one tweet, one Instagram post. Your choice.
Sitting in jail, Sean won't answer my call. Sad.
Facebook
Send me an
Messenger.
Insta.
Frowny emoticon.
No good. Very bad.
Sean normally gets back to me within a year, so I'm sure it won't take too long.
I answer Chris within minutes. So.
That's what I'm saying. Look, hey, he probably thought I was asking him to come to my defense.
Yeah. No.
He thought he was going to make money out of it.
Guffey's,
Sure did.
Guffey's going to the front of the
There's
line.
no money to be had here.
Interesting. So if I get found guilty, I'm found guilty by a jury of my peers that words don't in fact cut like knives, and I have no grounds for self-defense. Well, I guess first of all, how long would I be going to jail, and would I be going to prison instead?
So if it's a misdemeanor, it's just a Henry County jail sentence. If you have no criminal record whatsoever, the likelihood of you going to jail is probably not very high. If it's a felony, if it's a level 6, you're still probably going to the Henry County jail most likely. If it's a 5 and above, then you're going to the DOC.
And that level 6 felony, that's quite the issue that we'll get into later.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm guilty. How does this process of whenever a person is found guilty and they want a retrial, how does all of that work? How can you just request to have a new trial?
Well, after a jury trial, you have the right to appeal to the Court of Appeals within 30 days. So usually at sentencing, the judge will ask, Mr. Al, will you talk to your client whether he wishes to appeal? And if I'll talk to him, and usually we'll talk about that ahead of time, and they'll indicate whether they want to appeal or not. If they do, they have 30 days to file their notice of appeal, and then that goes up to the Court of Appeals. And that's all written briefs and typed up transcripts and everything like that, case law that may support or hurt you, depending on what side you're on.
You don't really get to. It's mostly done like it's correspondence. It's not.
You can have oral argument at Court of Appeals, but that's pretty.
Yeah, everything's based on the transcript from the trial.
So, okay, the most that I know about the criminal justice system comes from listening to the Serial podcast, and what I've heard from Sean. Okay, I'm
Both great sources.
I'm relatively ignorant of it.
I'm not sure what that says about you, Sean.
Well, it's just
like
because
I said, both great sources.
it's just because the last time he came on, we talked about student loans, not about the criminal justice system. This is Sean's escape from his day job. We
One
try
of
to
many.
but his favorite.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Easy.
So, I have a couple of questions about your role in particular in all of this, in my whole debacle of punching that guy in the nose. Okay, where are you the guy who? So we've already determined that the police are the ones who determined that there are charges pressed against me. Is that right?
No, so they make a formal arrest and they preliminary charge you, and then they forward the report.
Charges.
It's my office that makes the actual determination of what charges to file.
Okay, and do all the charges cycle through you, or do deputy prosecutors get to handle some of that?
So all misdemeanors and level 6s are signed off by the deputy prosecutors handling those cases. The major felonies, almost all are signed by me. So I review them and I sign them.
All right. So, and then I guess next is I read online, and this was just making these show notes. If you're a Patreon member, then the link where it says prosecutors role in your show notes, that's where I read this. I read that the prosecutor in some counties across the state doesn't handle criminal trials at all. Is that the case here? Like,
do I just sit at my desk and do nothing? No.
Well, as in being in the courtroom.
I think it probably depends upon the size of your county.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. So, like in Rush County, they only have the prosecutor, chief deputy, and then one prosecutor. So, I know in many counties small like this one, the prosecutor takes an active role. I take an active role. I tried 2 jury trials within the last 12 months, and so no, I do. I handle cases. I think that's important. I try to work with all the police as well, especially on the major felonies. In fact, my phone's been ringing twice here while we're sitting here with the police officer calling me. So I don't. I handle cases. I have a caseload, clearly not as big as some of the others because I am running the office doing other things. But
okay.
So if we're talking about the percentages of cases that get settled or dropped or go to trial. Actually, having a jury trial or a bench trial is probably the vast majority.
No, it's pretty rare. Almost all cases are resolved by plea agreement.
Vast minority, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's just simple math issue, right? So, I hear people complain about plea agreements, but really they're a necessary evil of the process. I don't have last year's numbers, but the year before when I did it, I think we filed 2,000 or 2,200 cases, criminal cases, misdemeanor, felony cases. And so if you think about it, we only have 3 courts.
You don't have the bandwidth to handle all of those.
You couldn't. I mean, really the question becomes then, if you have 3 courts and you tried 1 a week, which is, would be, I'm not sure it's possible, but assuming you could try 1 a week, not taking out some weeks the judges take vacations, you might be able to try, I don't know,
150 a year.
Something like that. Yeah. So out of the 150, you're going to try, those other, 2,000 cases. What do you tell those people? Sorry, I chose to do these, only do these 150 cases. So it's just a numbers thing. And the other thing is, like Sean and the other defense attorneys, we all have a good idea of what we think, a judge might do. And so we kind of figure that part out. Also, you look at a case and some of them are strong, some of them are weaker. Sometimes there are issues with the case. And so all of those things go into playing as to, how may we resolve this case in a way that's efficient and good for the system and good for victims.
Okay. So you have the power to decide what charges are brought against a person that was arrested, right?
Yes.
The formal charges. So if say a cop arrests me because I punched that guy in the nose, and well, you start looking at the details of the case, and it seems like maybe that guy took a swing at me first, and you disagree with the police officer. Do you have the power then to drop the charges that are against me?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, if I read a case and for whatever reason I decide, I don't think we're going to file this now. Maybe he arrests you, but I want more investigation. So, I'd have the power to say, okay, if you hadn't bonded out, well, I want you to release him now because I'm not going to file charges and I'd like it to be investigated further.
And at times, I don't know if you do now, but the investigators have had the prosecutor's office has had investigators as well. Like Butch Baker had served as a prosecutorial investigator in the past.
Yep. And I have one now, Scott Pinkerton.
Yeah.
From the Pinkerton Detective Agency?
Sure.
That's what his invoices say.
Yeah. All right. Those are all the questions that I had for you about that. This cleared up so much for me.
That's all you wanted to know?
That's about it. As far as like how the process goes, I think it's a pretty good understanding of what the general steps are. Sean, do you have anything you wanted to add to that before we
about the prosecutor's role in the justice system? I mean,
really just how it works in general, like all the things we talked about.
I mean, he has broad discretion, and the voters decide who's going to have that authority. And my opinion has been I've been doing this for 7 years. He uses that very appropriately. And but the way a prosecutor in this type of county should run an office would be to be available for the trial work. And as well as Joe's been a great supporter, a huge part of drug court and veterans court and those problem solving courts that we're both there for every Wednesday and Friday. And I honestly, it's one of the best parts of my week because we're not at odds with each other. We're trying to find solutions, and we're trying to find the best thing for people, and when people mess up, their consequences. But that he's taken absolutely an active role in the justice system, and I think that's what a prosecutor in this type of county can do. I don't think you can be hands off in this type of county with our resources. I think you have to get in there, get in the mix, and do battle sometimes. And he does that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I do have a hypothetical.
Uh-oh.
So you said 150 is what actually goes to trial, and the others.
No, I said that's the max you could. That's the cap you could.
Okay, so what if like 500 people, how about 173 people, the jail ish, all said we want speedy trials?
Well, speedy trial
combined.
rule says so you have to try them within 70 days, absent any delays caused by them or for calendar congestion. So if there's a trial going that day, it'd bump everyone off, and there wouldn't be no. So if it bumped it past the 70 days, it would be okay. It wouldn't count against the state.
I was trying to think how to cheat the system. All criminals demand a speedy trial.
There's an out carved into it. But if you look at the population of the jail, those are not all people that are awaiting trial. Some of them are serving sentences as well. Mm-hmm. And you've got some of those numbers now, or you looked at it?
No, I just looked at it because one of the questions had to do with, and if you want to get to it later, but it had to do with the possession of marijuana cases. And so I was looking, that's a misdemeanor. How many misdemeanors do we actually have in jail, just in jail by itself? Now, I only looked at those who are pretrial or had some issue, not the ones who've been sentenced, because I'm not there that often, but I don't think there's many. If there's any, it would surprise me right now. But when I looked, we only have 9 people who are in jail right now on a misdemeanor charge. Out of those 9, 5 of them are just misdemeanor being held pretrial. The other 4, 2 of them are in there because they committed a misdemeanor, but they're on probation. So the judge issued, I think, a no hold bond or a no hold warrant on them, or no bond warrant.
No bond.
And then the other 2, they were out on bond on a misdemeanor and committed a new offense. Or no, the one guy, he was out on a dealing conviction or dealing case, and then he allegedly committed a misdemeanor, and so therefore he's being held. So there's only 9 misdemeanor type cases out of 199 in the jail.
So of those 9, half of them are there because a judge has forced them to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So there's 5 total that are taking bed space.
All right. So I actually just thought of another question. And it has to deal with whenever you were talking earlier about how everybody can kind of work together within the criminal justice system. Like you're saying, and Sean knows kind of how judges will react to certain different charges that are being brought against an individual. And I mean, obviously everybody gets a feel for different situations in any job. But do you think that can also have some sort of an impact on the quality of service that, say, a defense attorney is giving to a client in that case?
Not necessarily. I mean, I could say with confidence this is where I practice. This is where I've worked for 7 years. I know all three judges very well. I know their tendencies as far as sentencings on the different types of cases. And if you're convicted with your type of history, this is what I expect. But if you go to trial, here are the points that I think we could try to make. Or if we don't have anything to argue, we could just argue that the state couldn't prove its case, and that's all we have. And maybe, trial can be kind of chaotic at times sometimes, and it's a possibility that would be a risk they want to take.
And it's their decision to make.
It's
right?
ultimately the client's decision to decide whether they want to go to trial or not. And I always tell them, it's always going to be your choice. I'm never going to tell you no, because I'm a trial attorney and I like to litigate. I don't want to be behind a desk, and I don't want to sit there and push paper, and I want to be in a courtroom and be in a courtroom in front of a jury and pick a jury.
But what I want to say is my uncle's girlfriend is a paralegal in the state of Alaska.
You like that joke? Yeah, I love the things that annoy me. Pet peeves are usually, my uncle's an attorney and he says that I should do this, and it's some
your
guy,
uncle could be like the Alaska.
He could be like
totally
a tax
different area.
He's the patent attorney. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like, well, if his opinion is so great, go hire him. Right. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Especially if they're from another state.
Yeah.
The laws are different and the practice and procedure are different.
It's just, I'm getting, my girlfriend thinks this is too bad or whatever. It's just, okay. I mean, I've only went to college, went to graduate school, went to law school, practiced for 7 years.
But you have Google, so it's fine.
It's like it's probably I don't know too many doctors, but I'd imagine they have similar scenarios with their patients. It's like, well, Google says I have full body cancer.
It's not Google.
And it's like, well,
it's WebMD.
WebMD says I've got just all these problems, doctor. It's kind of like that with clients. The way I do it is that if you invest time with them in the beginning and you show them that their time is valuable, you care about them, when the time comes to make a decision, they'll go with your advice 9 times out of 10. There'll be times where I want a trial and I'll tell them, I don't think that's the best play here.
If you get trial, you're looking at X.
Yes.
And if you don't do trial, you're looking at Y, which is a whole lot easier.
And a lot of times,
it's also the known versus the unknown, right? Yeah. So you get a plea agreement where you know the outcome, whereas if you go to trial, you don't know the outcome, because if the jury convicts, then I'm going to assume that the sentence is going to be greater than whatever was offered.
Right.
Yeah, we all do these calculations in our mind of, okay, we're in front of this judge and
bird in the hand.
We think this is where he would be, so we're going to be here on the offer, and how can you bump that offer down a year or whatever? And that's how plea negotiation
And I know
works.
that Joe has had the Pinkertons working on this case. So, and that is another thing you always see in like Law and Order and Matlock and stuff.
Yes, Matlock.
Always good to be your guide for the legal system.
I prefer Better Call Saul. That's my.
You always see the two lawyers that are negotiating agreements with each other. Is that what you two do? So
what'll happen?
That's a real thing. That
they just
occurs?
decide people's fate down at the McDonald's at lunch.
What'll happen is that Mr. Burgess's office. Mr. Burgess's office will make an offer, and I take that to the client.
Is it like in a secure email, or is it like Hillary Clinton style, where it just comes to Sean at
Comes to my
gmail.com?
Gmail, yes.
Through Facebook Messenger.
Come on, dude, we don't need encryption. We're not doing state secrets here.
It's going to be public record at some point anyway.
So he sends me an offer. I take it to the client. Client will say, "Okay, I'll take it," or they'll say, "No, I'll see if you can do a little better." And so I'll say, "Well, why should he do any better?" Well, because I've only been in trouble one other time. Okay. And so we kind of ping pong back and forth until either we come up with an agreement that'll work for both sides, or sometimes negotiations fall apart. They're too far apart. He may be at 20 years. My guy may be at 5 years. There's no splitting the difference there. So we just
like 12 years would be good.
Well, I mean, in terms of that's where he wants to be. This is where my client's firm, and they're both firm positions. So it's sort of like going back and forth as far as negotiation. And,
But you don't have a mediator that comes in and mediates.
Oh,
that
I would
for you
love to have a
necessarily.
mediator. Actually,
No, we are the mediators.
Yeah, I was going to say you
Talk
have
amongst
to.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard him get a New Jersey accent?
I have heard a little bit, not directed at me, but we have a good relationship. But I've heard a little bit here and there. But
I bet he had a New Jersey accent with Takuma Sato took out the field at Pocono this year.
Yeah, I was not happy. It was his fault too. What did you think?
It was. Yes, he ruined Rossi's chances. of
So
winning the championship.
what I just gathered from what Sean said is never take the first offer.
Well, I think a lot of them think, or a lot of defendants believe that you get 3.
the 3 pleas thing
Yes,
is also it's like
Is that a code
urban
inside
legend.
the?
I don't know where they come up with it. It's not true. But that's what I hear.
It's a lot of rule of 3s type things. 3 continuances, 3 pleas, those types of things.
Stop spreading those rumors.
I've never heard.
only they
I've
would
never
in the
heard
jail.
of 3 pleas. I don't know what that is.
So the thought is, or the urban legend, it's not like a sovereign citizen thing, which we could talk about sovereign citizens because I find them really funny. But
Until
you
you
get-
have to prosecute one, and then
until
it's
you
not
have
so
to prosecute
fun.
or represent one,
Yeah,
for
that's
that
true.
matter. So the rumor is
When they try to pay you in their own money, because
it's Better Call Saul,
because the fiat money that you
Yeah.
accept is not.
That was another part of Better Call Saul. I love
If
that
it's
show.
real gold, I mean, what's the issue?
So the rumor is that you get 3. The state has to give you 3 plea offers. So you can say, "No, I'm going to reject the first one. I'm going to reject the." It's kind of like 3 strikes and you're out.
That's
or
when you
something
send the
like that.
third one, and it's an extra 6
third
months.
one, and then but it keeps getting in their minds. It keeps getting better and not worse.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if your client is just not accepting responsibility, the state could give you deadlines and say take it or leave it by this date. If you don't accept, then we're going to file for a habitual offender enhancement or something.
You start
else.
getting additional charges
so you
piled on.
Well, it's
Less carrots,
things
more
that
sticks.
They could have filed.
Tell me about how he really treats you. There's less
he
carrots and
treats
more
me
sticks.
Great.
But we do that. We
yeah.
say, okay, here's the offer. If you don't
Yeah.
accept it, then we'll add this
Because
enhancement.
for either side to negotiate, somebody has to have leverage.
Right.
So, and
So
depending on the
I'm
negotiation,
arrested,
that's
and
depending on how it goes.
and all of a sudden Joe gives an offer that says that it was pretty bad. You broke that dude's nose really bad, and we can tell that you were obviously enraged, and we don't want that on the streets, so we're going to put you in jail for a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, Sean,
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
Let's shoot back with 3 months.
And we try that, and then if that doesn't work, we just either decide.
And Dakota says, "I'm too pretty."
Well, a lot of that depends too on the severity of the crime, right? It's a lot easier to negotiate a misdemeanor than it is a major felony. It just
Right.
is.
It's not like I just murdered 2 people. Come on,
Right.
Like
Right.
wife in prison.
I just murdered a man in his house while he was eating ice cream.
Why are you guys all going to murder? We're just talking about punching somebody in the nose.
I was saying that was
they're very
That
aggressive.
escalated
said-
quickly. We
he
went from
said
a misdemeanors up
they're
to murder.
very
he said a severe felony, and
Doesn't get more severe
it
than
seemed
that.
severe.
That's the most severe.
So-
It's its own class, actually. Murder.
Well,
Now, so jury trial. How do you guys? What's your process when you're selecting a jury? Like what? What
Is
do
it
you
just like
what do
it
you
was
look
in the
for
O.J.
when you're
Simpson
like,
documentary?
I don't want that guy on the?
Well, I'm looking for people who I think are pro-state or pro-victim. Sean's looking for people that he thinks would be good for his side.
sovereign citizens.
I just,
No, I don't know that they're good for
for
anybody.
me, yeah.
Sounds like I'm getting dismissed by Joe real quick.
For me, it depends on
It's
the
your
case.
last name. I go through the jury list and say, "Oh, that's a Guffey." No, I'm
he's
just
out.
kidding. No, I wouldn't do that. We get jury lists and we look at them. I mean, when I was in law school, I took a trial advocacy class, and there were certain things that they would say, "Oh, you should look for this," or this person may be pro-state, this might be pro-defendant. So there's a little bit of information in those jury lists that you kind of use as a guide as to what you think somebody may or may not be good. But really, the thing is, in jury selection, you get to talk to the people for about a half hour, and you just want to get them talking, get an idea of their background. You're looking. You don't want somebody who's going to dominate the room and annoy people, probably. So you don't want that dominant person. So you're just looking
Do
to
you
try.
want the guy that says, "I firmly believe in jury nullification"?
Well, we don't talk about that because it really doesn't exist. No,
I
we
don't know. I
certainly
feel like
don't
you
want
should be able
that.
to determine the facts and the law.
They determine the facts of the law. That's true. No, I
and Joe won't use me now.
If I'm at a jury trial and
No,
I see
not since you mentioned this. We want convictions. We don't want jury nullification.
The entire Boss Hog of Liberty, we're out.
it just depends on.
I'm sorry, I just read the Constitution. It's my fault. Please continue.
It depends. The type of juror I want, it depends on what type of case it is. If there's a lot of scientific evidence, I want these scientific, type people.
Nerds.
If it's nerds, if it's, a young person that's like been mad and hit somebody or something like that, I want young people. And I try to, the way I look at it is I want my demographic to look as much like my client as possible. A lot of times that's not really possible, especially in Henry County.
Yeah.
But
Your average age of your juror
I'm
is
trying
52.
to get someone to empathize with my client. And if you're from a different walk of life, the likelihood that you can empathize with some other person is a lot lower.
I probably couldn't be selected for a jury if you were the defense attorney.
You couldn't?
I mean, since we're such good friends.
Well, yeah, if
Oh, but listen,
the
it's a
judge
small
will
town.
ask
There's
us
only
if we know each
50,000
other,
people.
yeah.
As
So
long
you've
as you
got-
say you can be fair and impartial
Yeah.
and make a decision based on
Magic
the evidence you
words.
heard,
Magic
you just
words.
get struck by the state as a peremptory, not a challenge for
and
cause.
is it really the judge that makes the call if you have an issue with one of the
so
jury
you get
members?
so you get two types of strikes. A peremptory in a 5 or above, you get 10 peremptories. In a misdemeanor or level 6, you get 5, and you can strike them for basically any reason except for a suspect class: race, religion, sexual not that race, religion, national origin, age, whatever.
like that,
Some of those things you can't discriminate based on those reasons. The biggest one is race and gender. Batson, I think, is the race one, and so you can make it for that, or a challenge for cause. So you get somebody it happens a lot in like sex offense cases. You'll get a juror who's either been a victim themselves, known somebody who's been a victim, or even known somebody who's been accused of a crime.
And there's a
that type.
questionnaire that comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're revealing this information
Yes.
if it's pertinent.
And so if they answer those questions, yes, almost always they say, I don't think I'd be a good juror in this case, or I don't think I can be fair and impartial. And then those get struck for cause. And you get unlimited amounts of those. You can strike them for whatever reason.
You typically don't tell people what the trial is as they're showing up, right? They know they're in the pool, and then they come and find out that day.
Yeah, they get read the charging information when they come in for jury selection. So one of the first things the judge does is he goes through and then he'll read the charges. So they'll know at that point what the case is about. But when they come in that morning and they answer that 3-question questionnaire, they'll know it's about a sex offense at that point.
I gotcha. I've only been selected for jury duty once, and I never got called.
I've
I was
never
so
been selected.
disappointed because it was only
Have you been called?
No.
I got called once in Rush County, and then I think they settled the morning of the. So I was in the courthouse waiting, and they just kind of had us milling around in the Rush County courthouse, and I think they settled before they actually did anything with us. So we all got paid our $10.
Mine was only
got
like
the day off work.
a year after Sean gave his speech at the Libertarian Party convention and talked about the importance of juries.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, this is my time. This is my chance to make a difference in the world. And then I never got called.
No, if you really want me to strike you off a jury, just wear like a Blue Lives Matter t-shirt or something like that. Jury selection that pisses me off so much. It's just like, come on.
What about a MAGA hat? Does that
on.
work?
It's not as much. It's just mostly like just.
You're going to be super pro state if
Might
you
as
wear
well
a Blue
just
Lives
say
Matter
just
shirt.
wear a shirt that says not guilty or or guilty or whatever. I mean, it's just
The
sort of
cop
thing,
was
but-
always right. What about a shirt
always
that
right.
says that?
I like it.
That would make.
I did
that
have-
would cause a good
I
debate.
did have someone
Maybe,
wear a Blue Lives Matter t-shirt to jury selection.
Did you really?
Yes, it was upsetting to me.
Was that
Because I
not
like-
in Henry County? Is that the
It
deal?
was in Henry County.
Was he also wearing a hat that said "Come and take it"?
It was. It was just like, okay, I don't want to be here, so I'm going to wear this, and surely the defense attorney's going to strike me.
They
were
probably
smart.
they probably paid extra to get the shirt
probably
delivered on time.
Did it on purpose. That's why I was like, I don't.
Amazon Prime. It just
That's
came
why
in
I
2
was
days.
Yeah.
They're like, "Come on."
Of all the shirts to wear that day, that's the one you chose.
My regular
Okay.
Tuesday shirt. What's the
That's pretty
problem?
good.
It was in the rotation. That's what it was.
All right,
Oh boy.
gentlemen, it is 8:15 p.m. We need to talk about the Henry County Jail. There's been so much going on in the past couple weeks. I think there's even things going on at the courthouse tonight, right? About talking about the council is hearing arguments for and against a tax increase to raise the county tax by 0.2% of an income tax.
Yeah, 0.2.
It's weird because
And-
Chad joined the chat.
Maybe it's next Thursday. I don't know.
It's probably next
I want to say
Thursday.
the 17th.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably next
Yeah, I
month.
don't think
The
anything's going on
17th is
tonight.
not next week. It's the week after.
Yeah, I want to say the 17th.
I know
I
that because
thought
it's
it
the
was
day
this
before
week.
my anniversary.
God, you're so
Thursday.
good at this.
Yeah.
I need to have a lot to learn from you. I'm only a year married, so I haven't messed up in the ways
Number
you think I
16.
shall. Yeah.
But anyway, the Henry County Jail, we've talked about it so many times on the show. It's horribly overcrowded. There's really bad conditions. It was a huge issue whenever Jeremiah was running for county council in 2018, and it continues to be a major issue. And what Jeremiah's kept saying in your campaign was, keep electing these same people, your taxes are going to go up.
Yeah, here's my deal. The county, I don't know, 4 years ago now, passed a public safety LOIT. It's now it's not an option anymore, so it's not a LOIT anymore. It's just a LOT. Lit. Yeah, lit, not a LOIT, whatever.
It's lit.
It's lit. Get lit. So they raised your income taxes for that, and that was kind of a stopgap. And now we're looking at Henry County, the jail. We've talked about that for the last 100 episodes on this program, about the issues that we have over there and how something's going to have to be done. And we are, it looks like the county council is now at the point where they're going to vote to move forward with a 0.2% income tax increase, which I campaigned against last year. Most of the candidates tried to say, no, I'm not sure I want to do that yet. Tap that line. But here we are. We're in, it looks pretty imminent. I think, Jefferson County, I know Vigo County, and I know Hancock County all passed it. They're getting a jail for it. I'm afraid Henry County is getting ready to pass it just as a good faith effort to show a federal judge, hey, we're trying something. And I'm just not convinced that we're going to get anything for it. The public safety, you don't have any real assets or many assets other than a few cars to show for it. It's just been filling budget holes.
Chad Malakote was at a meeting for county jail overcrowding task force. And this is like a statewide task force for overcrowded jails. And the fact that exists tells me at some point the state is going to get involved with all of these issues and try to help the counties. And
Do you really believe that?
I disagree with that.
Yeah, the reason we're in this
will.
position is because of what the state did.
So here's my problem,
I
Joe.
think that's the thing.
And this is what I said during the campaign, is that the state caused this problem by sending level sixes 200 feet away from us.
Well, it was the criminal code rewrite and lessening a lot of the penalties for drug offenses, and then making us take almost all level sixes is what caused this problem.
So you've got low incarceration numbers at the DOC at the state level,
Yeah, they've closed facilities.
and you have busting at the seams going on at the county level. And instead of solving the issue, the state said, "Hey, you guys can raise your taxes locally and build prisons to house your county folks." I take the stance of, okay, there's damn near 1,000 county councilmen and county commissioners, and if they showed up in force in January, people from both of the elected parties, they showed up in January at the State House and pointed at their 150 legislators and the governor and said, "You fix this, you caused this problem, I'm not raising taxes on my people," you'd actually get somewhere. But instead, we're going to have 7 people vote yes and be real sorry about it, but they're going to vote to raise our taxes. And every county is going to try to replicate the same damn thing that they had at the state level. And we're not having the conversation about who actually should be in the jail, which is what I'm hoping we can do tonight, as to who needs to be in a county facility, who needs to be in a facility at all, and maybe some changes that we can make to the law, so that we don't put people in awkward situations.
I guess my major worry with it is that task force exists. What if all of a sudden for the next 20 years we have a point, I'm paying $10 more a month to the county government, and then next year the state legislature says we'll take back the level 6 felonies or something ridiculous like that. I know that's a ridiculous
never gonna happen.
thing, but if they offered financial aid and all of a sudden we didn't need that 0.2% tax increase, I think that that's a very real possibility that could happen at
It's
the state
a
level.
20-year right now. It's written, so
And then
it's
all
a
of a
20-year
sudden-
deal. 20 years from now, it'll change.
We're
You will
tapped
never
in.
crawl that back. Just like you never will get rid of your public safety LOIT. You will never get rid of your food and beverage taxes once a county has it. Anytime you incrementally let government get bigger, you're going to do it. It's going to happen because you will. It naturally wants to grow. That's just the way it goes.
Right. So we've been talking about this all constantly on this show, and then all of a sudden, the new acting prosecutor in Marion County, his name is Ryan Mears. He announced this week that they're no longer going to be arresting and charging folks for small marijuana charges.
That's half true.
But then the South
He said
Force,
charging.
Right.
He doesn't control who gets arrested.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. The Southport police chief says, no, if you don't want us to arrest people, that is the legislature's issue, and we're going to continue to make arrests like the law says.
So Southport's one of the towns that resides inside of Marion County.
Yep.
Putting people in a really bad spot. You've got a law that says X, and then you've got a prosecutor's office that says Y. At some point, police officers are going to say, "Oh, the hell with this! This is just futile." I would imagine,
Yeah.
right? If you're going to go through the work of arresting somebody, and the prosecutor is just going to routinely throw out your work, then at some point you'll probably stop arresting people
I guess
for that.
what I don't understand about it, and I don't know what they do there. I can tell you here, a couple of years ago, we had our jail's been overcrowded for a while, and so the sheriff, myself, we met. I met with the chief of police, and we talked about how are ways, and the judges are all involved in this too. How are ways that we can help ease the overcrowding? And so we came up a list with misdemeanor cases that, like, if in a misdemeanor case, you can either be arrested or you can receive an information and summons, get a court date. And so we looked at the list and we said, okay, well, what of these crimes can we do so that they're not arrested and being housed in the jail? And so we looked at them, and basically possession of marijuana, driving while suspended, some resisting law enforcement, some illegal consumptions, driving without ever receiving a license. All of these cases, reckless driving, none of those go to jail. So we almost or very rarely do any of those cases go in our Henry County jail at any given time. And so we've already looked at those things. So I don't know what's going on in Marion County. I don't know how small marijuana cases are clogging up their jail. I can't imagine that's happening. But here we've already made that decision. How can we help ease the overcrowding? So we did that. So there's hardly, as I said before, there's hardly any misdemeanors in our jail right now. And then we looked at other things. How else can we improve it? And so we first started the Veterans Court, it's a great program for veterans. They'll go in the program, they'll get the treatment they deserve, and hopefully keep them out of the jail. And we've been successful with that. And then from there, starting the Veterans Court, then Judge Crane, who started the Veterans Court, he was like, "Yeah, this is a good program." And so it was a progress to get him to go from say, "Okay, let's do Veterans Court. This is good. Okay, let's start a drug court because maybe we can have similar results." And so we started the drug court, and the drug court it's really good.
Sean's wearing his drug court swag.
I'm wearing
Yeah,
swag tonight.
I was going to wear mine, but I didn't
gonna
want to
be
look like a
matchy-matchy.
twin. And so we started the drug court, and it's honest, as Sean says, it is probably the most rewarding thing I do each week, or one of the most rewarding things, because you actually sit there and you can see the change in these people. And so it's been real beneficial. And so we've been doing things to help ease, the problems at the jail. But at some point, there are just some people who have to be in jail for whatever reason. Either it's because they just keep committing crimes and we need to keep the public safe, or it's that, some other reason, but they need to be in jail.
Yeah. Mears said that Marion County was actually only charging 81% of these marijuana possessions.
See, I don't know what you read, I think
they weren't charging 81%.
What I read was he was dismissing about 81%. And so
I'm sorry, I wrote that wrong in the show notes.
But what that really means is that they did charge him, but it's not uncommon for prosecutors around the state to have diversion programs. And especially for first-time offenders in, marijuana cases, illegal consumption, some other ones, you'll do an agreement to withhold prosecution. And so if they comply with the terms and conditions of that, the case will be dismissed. But that doesn't mean there isn't a sanction for their action, right? So if the goal is to get them to comply with the law, maybe get some treatment at the time if they need it, it's the carrot and stick approach, right? You give them something, it's kind of like drug court. You give them something, you get something in return. And so in drug court, if they complete the program, I dismiss the charges so they don't have a felony conviction. In this case, in possession of marijuana cases, they complete the agreement to withhold prosecution, then at the end the case gets dismissed. So there is something for that, this person has to face penalty, maybe see, I shouldn't be smoking marijuana or it's illegal, so, I shouldn't be doing it or possessing it or using it. Just because they're dismissing 81% of the cases, I think that's misleading. It doesn't mean that there isn't some sort of sanction out of it less than a conviction that does serve a public purpose.
Is it becoming more and more problematic enforcing the cannabis laws now with Michigan having their legalization?
No, it's real easy. It's illegal in Indiana, and if you're in Henry County, you're going to be charged with it, and we're going to prosecute it. So no, it's actually quite easy. It's just the people who coming through on I-70 out to Colorado or wherever,
tourists that are passing through the state.
Pass through and just, it's illegal there. Well, then you should go south or go north around us, I guess.
That's bad for the economy, man.
Then they don't stop and use our hotels and eat at our local restaurants. Maybe they stop at Unique Boutique in downtown Newcastle, all just because they had something that they wanted to use to relax, just like we drink beer.
But there's lots of things one can do that's legal to relax that you don't have to use marijuana.
It's true.
Well, my thought on this was, okay, so is he doing this for political purposes, or is he doing this for, we're going to divert resources to focus on, say, like violent crimes and homicide, which
they're off the charts in
Marion County
right
is historically pretty high on those numbers.
It keeps climbing.
But I doubt he's using deputy prosecutors who are prosecuting marijuana to pursue murder cases and things of that nature. So I get that it's a lot of process for a lot of people in Marion County. So maybe you're saving time or money in that regard by not pursuing it.
Yeah, but they're going to be paid anyway, right?
Well, they could possibly. I mean, they could be.
If they're full-time
They could be diverted, or they could potentially cut back on people. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but I see it as kind of a blend of both political statement as well as trying to be a little bit more pragmatic for their county. And what's right for Marion County isn't necessarily right for smaller counties like ours.
And it was one of those things where there's a lot of people that have taken the side of this is the legislature's problem, not a prosecutor's problem. But in other areas and states that legalize, like for instance, Colorado, Denver decriminalized and then made a full legal on the city level before it was brought to the state. So there's a significant history behind local people in local cities and counties making decisions that wind up impacting the entire state. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, he's well within his rights to say that he's not going to be charging these folks anymore. But if he doesn't want the arrest to be made, then that is something that needs to be taken up with the legislature as well.
I think it's a public policy argument. I think those policies are made by the legislature, not by local prosecutors.
Yeah, that's by the people. The same folks that elect you are the same ones that elect the state. Our two state senators and our state representative in Henry County.
If the voters of Marion County want that, they'll vote for them.
Exactly.
Eventually, if they don't, they won't. And that's the good thing about that being an elected position in that regard.
If you see the direction of public policy over time, I can see that we're going to have a tax increase to pay for a jail, and I can see that we're going to have 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the state of Indiana is probably going to have different laws around cannabis.
Hopefully it's at least 30 years from now when I'm long gone.
I don't know. Make your job a little easier. Maybe it lighten the workload.
No, you legalize it, it'll make crime more difficult to prove. Because there's a lot of things I think that happen through marijuana that get other drugs off the street. So I think it'll make it more difficult.
Does alcohol make your job more difficult?
No, I mean I don't think they're too correlate or equivalent of each other.
How about ginseng?
I haven't seen anybody digging it up.
I read stories about people that have this ginseng plant too that causes problems.
That is weird. That is a weird thing.
Ginseng. Realistically, the numbers of people that are just charged with simple possession for marijuana are relatively low.
It's
I would
not
say
a lot.
it's not.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a tool in the toolkit, right? It's almost the way it looks to me is like you're going to lose some of the leverage we talked about. Where hey, you've got marijuana, and it's a tool that we see the state using to lead to other areas.
And the other thing, I think when for every sentencing or every major felony sentencing, we all get a pre-sentence investigation report, just a bunch of information about the defendant. But in those, it talks about drug history of them. And I can't. Almost every single one that I've been involved in, they always start with marijuana and they move up.
And usually
the governor of the state of Indiana has the same background, and so does Mitch Daniels, the president of Purdue University. There's a whole lot of people that have that on their resume. Not me.
You just deal with the bad eggs. One bad Skittle, right?
But I think that this idea that we have all these people just only charged with marijuana and they're all sitting at the jail, I reject that. But
yeah, and that's what I've heard from.
And from a defense perspective,
folks.
we can figure that one out. We can figure out B misdemeanors and A misdemeanors. Like that's not
the root cause of our problem.
The real problem is what the legislators did when they reclassified everything and they gave you the level 6s.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
What if all y'all prosecutors, 92 of you, showed up at the State House in January and said, 92 prosecutors, 92
Will you go
sheriffs.
protest for us, Joe?
I'll go with you. I'll drive you down there, man.
The criminal code was not our friend from the prosecutor's office or the reform. It made our lives more difficult. There was a period of time before the change in the law that our jail was down to I think it had 60 people at one point. And then
when I was a kid, Kim Cronk was sheriff. Henry County was making money off of empty beds from other counties. And we've had this flip. By the way, I think the sheriff said that he was going to pay $40 for St. Joe County, but I heard Rush County is only 37, and they're a whole lot closer. So I got a coupon for Rush County. Yeah, my dad's on a merit board guy down in Rush County. I know the going rate. I don't know, man. I really do feel like that if the county elected officials from the county councils that are expected to pay for it, the county executives and the commissioners, the prosecutors and the sheriffs, the people we've elected, if 1,000 of you guys turned up in January, there'd be a lot of TV cameras and there'd be an ability to affect some change. But instead, it seems like the councils are going to vote 7-0 and say they're real sorry and raise our taxes, and we're going to end up with a whole lot of little jails locally instead.
Pretty much.
That's the way I see it.
We were looking at the regional jail, and
which failed.
I was not a fan.
Neither was
because I don't think it makes sense for a lot of reasons. But
now I did think of one good reason for it was if it's in another county, all those jail battery cases occur in the other counties. So I'm going to prosecute those.
That's true.
Are you responsible do you have to prosecute GEO issues at jail?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Interesting.
At GEO and the jail, both.
So both the prison and the jail.
Prison and the jail.
So last question, as far as all this goes, before we move into our final thoughts, is for both of you guys, if there's any steps that you guys think that could happen on the county level to alleviate the issues that you see with the county jail, what do you think they could be? I guess we'll start with Sean from the defense attorney perspective.
I guess we could revisit the bond schedule, see if that's something that we need to look at.
We have a bundling thing, like buy 2 bonds, get a third free.
Well, so we have a split bond schedule in our county. So part of it's surety bond, part of it's cash bond. So unless your attorney negotiates some other bond for you or something else, then you're paying a bondsman as well as a cash bond. I'm not opposed to that part of the system, but sometimes you'll have these bonds that are extremely high for people in our county. It's just not realistic for them to bond out. And the purpose of bond is to ensure that they reappear and not reoffend. So I think if we got a little bit more creative with those options, that may be something to look at, but also look at just expanding these problem-solving courts. And we've got a lot of interest in that. We've generated a lot of I think good perceptions, a good press, if you will. We were in the Courier Times. Travis White, friend of the show, was there, did a story on our graduation program, and so
you look like you had a very official job in the picture.
I think my leg was in the picture,
or maybe you were in the Middletown paper.
Maybe I was. Yeah. I didn't see that one.
Oh man, you got to take the Middletown news.
Okay.
Too.
Well,
all of our friends in the media. You had a very prominent photo in that one.
That's excellent.
So maybe I'll go down to Frost Framing.
We'll have to go get it. We'll have to go get it.
If we keep making these problem solving courts as specialty courts, obviously we can't expect the limited number of judges in the county to take on all these different responsibilities. What would have to happen for us to hire someone that is over or I guess what would it take for the county to get another judge to oversee these specialty courts?
Caseload. So it's
the legislature has to.
It's done at the state level.
The state will then pass a law that creates a new court and then appoints a new judge for that court. And then when you do that, the state will pay the judge's salary, but then the county will have to pick up all the expense of the court and the court staff. And so that's the way it would have to work. But it'd have to start with the legislature first.
Okay.
We're with our case numbers. I don't think we're there. No. No.
A city councilman is on the other side of that door, just texting us, just picking on us right now. It's happening.
But no, I would looking at the bond schedule again and seeing if that's a possibility. But realistically, if we would have done something about this problem 10 years ago, we could be on the other side of this, and we could be housing other people from other counties, making money off of it. Just nobody was.
Oh, are you for prison for profit now, Sean?
Well, nobody's.
If it keeps your taxes lower,
willing
are you?
To be realistic.
No,
nobody's willing to be realistic about our situation, and maybe nobody saw the change in the Indiana criminal code coming. That's a possibility, because I think that was pretty surprising.
We kind of
to
got
some.
blindsided by that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean,
the state representative that caused all of that left the office in shame, right? We don't remember that.
Well, they didn't tell us like ahead of time, like, hey, guess what? It's going to change. Like, they didn't tell us anything. It's just like, oh, now here's the new criminal code. So
Judd McMillan. This is all Judd McMillan's fault.
He resigned, right?
Yeah, he had a sex video, but he's the this is why I have this show.
Why resign over that?
Well, he was.
There's no shame. Are we kink shaming now?
yeah.
Listen, Judd McMillan resigned because he's a Republican and they're not allowed to have sex videos.
Yeah.
But Justin Moed, he's still a state rep because he's a Democrat and they're allowed to do that.
Only
Same thing that
missionary.
happened with Phil Hinkle. Phil Hinkle had to resign because he was caught with a boy in a hotel room and he was a
Okay, well,
Republican.
that's a little
that,
bit different than a sex video.
Well, I mean, he was like 19. He may have been paying the gentleman for his time.
Also a little different.
So yeah, it's this is all Justin Moed's fault. And once again, I think if 1,000 state rep,
Jesse Smollett's fault.
Justin Moed's fault.
No, I
got it.
You got it. Thank you.
I know.
Someone else is laughing in their car driving to work right now.
I understand.
and I don't want to throw the legislature totally under the bus. On the
Oh,
criminal
come
code.
on. This is talk radio, Sean.
Because they did a lot of things that I think improve people's
Don't
situations.
worry, we'll
They
get
don't-
Tom Saunders in here the next time you host.
There's no more minimally non-suspendable cases in drug cases anymore. I
And
think
you're
that's
removing
fantastic.
you're removing
Yeah, that did a lot to
felonies from
promote plea
records.
agreements.
And that did a lot to promote plea agreements.
No,
The
it didn't.
minimally non-suspendable portion, they took that out, which I think I think it should be up to the judges to decide whether someone should go to prison, not anything else. So, for those, yeah, I mean,
I think it ought to be up to a jury.
to sentence.
Like in
No,
Texas
we don't-
with that
We don't want to
police
do that.
officer.
Yeah, you're getting all my references tonight.
I've been
I love
watching
it.
the news lately.
Thank you. All right, what about you, Joe?
I think we've done a lot so far. Like the problem-solving courts, I think, have done a lot. Originally, when we designed it, the judge thought we could do 45 participants in the program. We have about 20 now, I think, and it takes a better part of the morning. I think 45 is a pretty lofty goal. I don't know that we could accommodate that much. So, but doing that, I think the problem solving courts help it. I think the policies of those cases where, just citing them with an information and summons helps a lot. Of not having the jail have to process these people, not having them in there takes resources away from those jail officers there. So I think that's helped out. Other than that, I don't, we can get, what it takes is money. Maybe we could do something. I think there's a lot of people, not a lot, but there's some people in jail who really are just strictly have mental health issues, and they're in jail because we want to keep the community safe, but we have nowhere else to put them. And it's a bad situation for everybody. And so maybe if the legislature would put put some money towards mental health so we could help these people in a way that we're not housing them in our jail because that's the only place we can put them, that would go a way to help easing the overcrowding. But quite frankly,
state hospitals are gone. County homes are gone. Some of the tools that used to be there in another era no longer exist. So the only bucket you have is a county jail.
Exactly. And it's not good for those people. It's not good for the other offenders. It's not good for the jail. It's a bad situation. So I think if we could get it really just takes money. It's more money in the communities for services. But really some of it just comes down to the defendant themselves, right? A lot of the people, I think one of your questions on there, like what's the most prevalent amount of people in jail? And I'd say probably 85% of it's all drug or drug related in some fashion. So if we had more resources,
we eliminated prohibition.
Yeah, it's just
we would solve the 85%.
No, I said drugs, not alcohol.
Well, prohibition of anything. Prohibition leads to crime, which leads to violence, which leads to all this other stuff.
When they break into your house, they're going to say, "Oh, sorry, it was legal."
Why'd they break into my house?
Because they wanted to feed their drug habit.
Then they're trespassing.
Right, but if their drugs were just available at Walmart,
then the
go get
castle
them.
doctor kicks
Listen,
in for
man,
Dakota.
if they just come into my house, like they won't be in jail. I promise.
I'm with Dakota. Not going to jail.
Yeah, because
I'm
if they
just
break in
saying-
your house, you have the right to
I'm
do
just
something
saying,
else.
let's give our way a try. For
I might
5
have to
years.
be in jail for the night.
Like 5 years, we'll try no prohibition, and then if it doesn't work out, we'll go back to your way.
If we could just
No,
do
you
it at
can't,
the
because
county
once you do it,
level.
you can't go back.
I wish I
sure
knew
we
the
did.
prosecutor that.
The same thing with
make those
marijuana, right?
changes.
Once you do it, you can't go back.
In the 30s, we had no prohibition. Then all of a sudden, they added prohibition, and that led to
Lots
Al
of
Capone.
organized crime.
And now it's the same thing.
They tell me in 20 years this 0.2 tax increase is going to go away. So obviously we can roll it back. We're going to roll it all back.
That's what I heard.
Sounds like a good idea. So it takes money and resources, but it takes the defendants to want to, not use
People have
drugs.
to want to change.
Yeah. So that's part of it.
Yeah,
All right.
I understand.
I'll settle for 2.5 years of no prohibition. All right.
You get 3 chances.
3 strikes, you're out.
You got final thoughts for me, producer Chris?
Let's see. Yeah,
You got a birthday to wish, don't you?
I'll tell her tomorrow when it's her birthday. Tomorrow, not only is it the girlfriend Paige's birthday, awkwardly, thank you. No, also is the opening.
I sent her a card. I'm hoping you do something for her.
It's opening preseason for the Indy Fuel, which is where I will be instead of spending time with my girlfriend, as you guys like to
That
shame
should
me.
be a crime. Is there a crime for that, Joe? Choosing
If not, there ought to be.
a preseason hockey game
He's in
instead
a-
of your girlfriend's
He's in a
birthday
prison
dinner?
of his own making. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There is a
I've
walking
been trying
event.
to talk so much sense into him. I even took him to breakfast twice this week.
It's taking him under his wing. That's nice.
There's a walking event for the campaign Saturday. Paige will be there. So, it's going to be a date. We're going to go walk and knock and talk.
Oh man,
And then,
listen. It worked. It worked for me in 2016. Sarah tagged along for all of the Rex Bell for Governor stuff.
I know.
and now
Listen-
I've got this damn thing on my finger. So
I'm just saying, listen, guys, if you're single, just run for political office. You'll find your mate. That's all I got.
Mate, huh? That's how you're going to put
None
it.
of that seems
My
right.
mate.
None of that seems
No, it
right.
doesn't.
well, Sean, you already found a Sarah, so
I did. I'm locked in. I'm not running for anything.
you're pretty well set.
I'm set.
You got anything to promote? Anything good? You got,
Oh, man.
You have a phone number out in case somebody needs your services.
Galleon and Roll Office, right?
Galleon Office 765-529-3787. We're here.
I don't see any billboards or signs on buses or anything for
No,
you.
we're
Ken Nunn got all those.
yeah, Ken Nunn
And the Hammer.
the Hammer.
7.
Those guys.
You don't
they do all
chase
the promos.
ambulances
When am I gonna-
and truck accidents.
No, actually,
Injured? Call Sean.
that's the thing about personal injury work. It's all the TV guys now, and very rarely will you have all that much personal injury work to do in a small town. So you're more focused on family law, civil litigation, criminal litigation. So that's what I do. And
Sean, no matter what,
What's it
you're
going to
my
take
guy.
for me to get you
Thanks,
guys on Judge Judy? Being the prosecutor.
well, I mean, I'd love to
That's
do. Pay me, yeah, sure. I mean, more than I make now, sure.
No, I just want you to go. I want a
Plaintiffs
case.
and defendants.
I want a
You us
case
to have
from
a
Henry
case?
County to be on Judge
Oh
Judy.
well, that's like small claims court. That's
But
It's
I want
like
it to be on
glorified
Judge
It's like
Judy.
it's
so
like
it can
Guffey
be like,
backed into my truck,
Yeah,
and
I don't-
I need to be made whole.
I want it to be like that scene from My Name Is Earl whenever he's on Cops and he's like, my Cops is on. I want it to be like, my Judge Judy's on.
Yeah. to be honest, most people in small claims court represent themselves. That's why it makes good television for People's Court and Judge Judy and things like that. I don't even take small claims cases.
Really?
I feel like for me, for the time I would spend on
My
it,
neighbor has been
the amount I
spraying
would
Roundup
charge.
into my side of the creek.
Isn't your mother-in-law next door to you?
That's more of an EPA.
That's the other
She's
side.
she's a
EPA
couple
thing.
houses down. No, he's been spraying Roundup on my side of the creek.
Well, that feels like the dictator down in Spiceland could take care of that one for you.
I want
Commissar-
compensation for
Commissar
that grass.
Jacobs.
Is what I want.
The Communist Manifesto. Darren Jacobs.
Darren Jacobs,
Yeah, the
token
man himself.
socialist. Yeah.
The token socialist. We can help you
Darren
out.
Marks.
Speaking of Darren, how's that going? You guys had an exciting planning commission meeting since we saw you last.
Yeah, we did.
Nobody got approved for anything. So
Nobody got approved for anything.
wind appears to be dead for a while.
I can't really comment on that. That's an ongoing. It's always an ongoing thing. It's just, there was a resolution that was passed at the last planning commission. I anticipate that'll go to the BZA and probably have to be litigated. So
Very fun. More money for Sean.
that's all I have to say. That's all I can say. See, I'm good about this. I don't. I've
been doing
around the
it
block.
7
I've been
years.
doing this
You
for
ought to know.
7 years.
Yeah.
Like a lifetime.
If you're an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
Do you need to tell Dakota he's got to make a vaccination decision?
Yeah, my kids had to have vaccines today, and my daughter went kicking and screaming. So just be ready for all that. So,
It took myself,
Like
and
just
two
like
nurses
you should
to
do if
hold
you're
down my
getting
daughter.
arrested.
yeah. But the schools expect polio shots and things like that. And I like to not see her in like an FDR wheelchair.
It's hard to find a good room for the iron lung. It's
kind of outdated.
Yeah.
kind of played out. The iron lung.
Yeah.
Sean, this has been fun.
I love being here, guys. Anytime.
All right. Well, you never know when we might have an emergency
You hit me
again.
up. I'm here.
Yeah, try it again.
Not you, Jeremiah. I'll hit him up.
Yeah,
He'll
look,
answer.
you found
He knows how to
you
get
found the
me.
magic. You got him, Joe. I hope you'll come back.
Thanks for having me. I
Had a
appreciate
good time. It might be for IndyCar night next time. I don't know.
Ooh, I like
Ooh,
that.
IndyCar night. Yeah,
Something
he'd be
good
good
to
for
talk
that.
about.
It's Dakota doesn't.
We'll
like to talk
replace
on
Mike
this.
McCown. You can sit in my chair for that night.
No, we've done 132 episodes tied at the hip, Dakota. We
I
can't
have
go
to
anywhere.
work that night, it turns out.
Son of a bitch.
How much does Dakota know about IndyCar? That's what I want to know.
Not a whole lot.
Everything he's learned on this program.
Probably.
He could probably name 3 drivers now.
Alex Rossi.
Yeah.
That's it.
You don't even know who won the championship this year?
I would know.
Simon,
Nope.
Joseph,
Nope. Don't know.
James.
That one. Nope. James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Elio,
Nope.
Mario.
Scott.
I know Mario.
Tony.
Tony. I know Tony. I don't remember his last name. I know the big tone man.
Marco.
Yeah.
You know who Marco is?
I know the name.
Could you give me a
based on
last name if I had to?
No.
Takuma. Could you give me Takuma's last name?
It was mentioned in the show.
It was. It really was. He
Listen,
doesn't really pay attention.
I
to
zone out to those in those portions.
Ryan Hunter. Ray.
What about him?
Anyway. Anything else we need to know, Joe?
I think that's it.
Is there anything you need to promote?
Um,
Where can we find you if we want to reach out to you?
in the prosecutor's office.
All right.
Don't bring your phone.
I just slid into his email DMs.
Will you please give your personal phone number to the 1,500 people that will listen?
No, I will not.
There's a reason we couldn't tag him on Facebook, too, I'm sure. Wants to be reached through official communications only. All right. Well, thank you very much.
That's what Sean's for.
Yeah.
I'm a liaison.
You consigliere. We appreciate you being here very much.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It was good and very informative, and we like to have our elected officials on the program. Dakota.
All right. I have a couple of things that I want to point out. First of all, I want to say thank you. I have 3 people to say thank you to, other than our 2 wonderful guests that came on at the last minute. First, I want to thank God because he listened to my prayers on last week's show and is finally making the weather cool down.
Yes.
I thought this was about the gender
fall time.
reveal.
Different. The second person, I thought it was a girl the whole time. We're having a boy. The second person I want to thank has to do with the gender reveal, and that would, of course, be John Montgomery from Montgomery Steakhouse. They were super accommodating to us in the back room. Let us pop a giant powder-filled balloon out in the backyard of the steakhouse. So it was really neat. I really appreciate them for letting us make a giant mess and bring in some of our own food and stuff. And we had cupcakes and things. And
I thought you guys were going to do it with blue or pink colored cupcakes, but you did it with the balloons.
I did it with a balloon. A big old balloon filled with powder. I messed up the first balloon and filled it with way too much powder. And it wouldn't float.
Is this how you shot yourself?
Yeah.
Float?
It wouldn't float. There was too much powder inside of the balloon. And whenever I filled it up with the helium, the powder was weighing it down. Mm-hmm. So I had to make a second one. So I had an extra balloon. I took it home, and I was going to shoot it with a BB gun. So I nailed it to a tree to shoot it with a BB gun. Because I wanted to do a little something special for the Patreon folks.
Oh, you did something special?
Yes, you did.
So, it was very popular.
So I took the BB gun out there, the little Daisy.
Yeah.
It's a pistol. And this gun, I'll have you know, I've shattered beer bottles with it. Okay? It's a pretty powerful BB gun. I take it out there.
Air rifle, pump, what are we doing?
It's
Red Ryder?
It's a pump, but it's a pistol. It's a handgun. So take it out there, and I aim, and I shoot, and it bounces off the balloon and comes back and hits me right in the gut. It made a great video.
It's good content.
It was hilarious. If
That's
you're
good content.
a Patreon member, I posted it in the Patreon group on Facebook, and you got to see that and laugh at me going, ow. It felt like a bee sting. And then the third person that I want to thank would be Mr. Rob Davis, who's a listener of the show, and he's also the owner out at Spiceland Wood Products here in Henry County, Indiana. Great place to go buy custom cabinets and things. Every bit of countertops and cabinet work I've ever had done has been through them. But also, I said in the Patreon portion, I've been building a changing table, and I needed some boards planed and sanded, and called him up, and he was like, yeah, come down, and we can take care of that for you. So even though I had built the panels and done everything already, he was willing to exchange some of his equipment for a really super reasonable price and get that done for me.
And a thank you on the show.
Yeah.
Invaluable.
Very cool.
The thank you for the show, he gave me a book. So he gave me a book that I would like to read. So that is the thank you is the payment for the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Very cool.
So there we go.
All right. It's been a fun show. Aaron Dickens, City Councilman Aaron Dickens, says that these two know a lot about powder and balloons. I don't know how to interpret that, but
Did you really
know
say
how
that? Wow.
yeah,
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I don't know. I feel like it's about cocaine. I don't know.
Powder and
I think
balloon,
it's
we're
just
somewhere where it doesn't need to go.
Yeah.
that's nitrous
In there.
oxide you put in balloons, man.
They're prison pipe.
This has been fun. Guffey, we got a show next week, right?
Yes, we do.
Who's on? Who's coming on?
The 10th is the one, the only, Aaron Dickens.
Oh.
And another famous Newcastle person, Rex Peckinpah.
Oh.
And the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
The couple of the sitting city councilmen. So we will officially start our city council person conversation and work our way through as much of the Newcastle city government between now and election day as we can. With that, thank everybody for being here, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk. which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to wearelibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.